Heart rate training. It's one of the best ways to train smarter, avoid overtraining, and build endurance without burnout. But what happens when there's a hill? You're out for your easy run and suddenly you hit an incline and your heart rate shoots up. You glance at your watch and you see that you're already in zone 4, even though you're barely moving. So you slow down, but it's still climbing. And you're asking questions like, should I walk? You start wondering, is heart rate training completely useless when you live in a hilly area? So let's talk about it. If you're new here, I'm Karoline. I ran my first marathon in 2019 with no real training, and I won it running a 3:05. 7 months later, I ran a 2:46 marathon and committed to chasing the Olympics. What most people don't see is the struggle. I had 6 stress fractures in 4 years. Burnout, confusion, constantly questioning my training. 2 years ago, I said enough. I decided to learn everything I could about long distance running. I experimented with many different methods, and the method that finally clicked, especially for a hardworking, high-driven person like me, was heart rate training and running based on time. I stopped chasing paces and I started chasing smarter structure. And now I coach runners all over the world to do the same. One of the questions I get all the time on Instagram is, can you actually train by heart rate if you live somewhere hilly? So let's break it down. Let's start with why this happens. So when you go uphill, your body has to work harder. You're recruiting more muscles, increasing force with every stride and elevating the load on your cardiovascular system. So even if your pace is slow, your effort goes way up. And your heart rate, it reflects that effort. So it's not a bug, it's doing what it's supposed to do. This is where a lot of runners get stuck. They think, well, if I can't stay in zone 2 without walking, what's the point? But the truth is, heart rate training still works in hills. You just have to adjust your mindset and expectations. Let's start with what not to do. So don't try to force your pace up a hill and ignore your heart rate. Like I've said many times on this channel, you want every run to have a purpose and you want to train with intention. And that means managing your intensity correctly. So you can do that by following a precise heart rate target, even on hills. So this means that when you go uphill, you don't want to turn your easy run into a threshold effort. So if you're new to heart rate training or running on a new route, it can be hard to know what pace will keep your heart rate in the right zone. So my advice is to don't panic if it's bikes. Just try your best to slow down. The real problem isn't your heart rate data. It's expecting to stay the same across all terrain. Because your body doesn't care if you're running up a hill or on a flat road. It just responds to that effort. Here's what I do and what I coach my athletes to do. Number 1 is focus on the average heart rate over the whole run. So it's okay if it spikes a bit on the climb as long as you're trying to bring it down. So think big picture and long term. Number 2 is to use walking as a tool. So while I recommend running if you can, to keep building your running specific muscles and motion, walking is absolutely okay when necessary. So my tip is to try running as slow as possible first and then only switch to walking if your heart rate stays too high. Number 3 is to use effort as a check-in. So if you're breathing heavily and your legs are burning, that's not zone 2. So that's your cue to run slower, to walk, to take a standing break. Remember, your body does not know pace, it knows effort. So you're working just as hard as someone who can run fast at that same heart rate. And by pushing too hard, you're doing a workout that increases your recovery time and your risk of burnout, plateau, or injury. So remind yourself that there is no point in doing workouts that your body isn't absorbing. Number 4 is to plan routes that make sense. So if you live in the mountains, find loops or trails with rolling terrain. So save the flatter paths for recovery days. Number 5 is to use a treadmill for recovery days. If you can't escape hills, a treadmill can be a smart investment. I've honestly done most of my winter running on a treadmill growing up in Norway, and so does Jacob Ingebrigtsen, so did Ingrid Christensen, who ran a world record and won Boston Marathon. So treadmill runs might not be exciting, but they're super effective and they're an incredible mental training tool. And yes, you can absolutely still follow my heart rate training plans even if you live in a hilly area. My plans are built on heart rate and time on feet, not pace, adjusting for terrain, heat, fatigue, and light, threshold work, strides, hills, and long runs with purpose. They're not just about hitting perfect numbers, they're about building the strongest, most resilient runner inside of you. Just ask Carrie. She went from a 41-minute 5K to a 28-minute 5K. Or Ted, who dropped his 10K time from 55 to 49 minutes. So this approach works no matter where you live. And if you're serious about improving, the link to my plans is below. And they also come with a money back guarantee. If you follow the plan and you still don't feel better or PR your next race, then I will absolutely give you your money back because you guys, I do not want to sell any plans that don't actually work. They are the exact structure I wish I had back when I started training. I also just started a Facebook community where I have all of my athletes and also other people who are currently using the training plan. So if you're a little bit unsure if this type of training is for you, I highly recommend to join this Facebook group and just kind of see what other people are saying. And also you can totally message me on Instagram, ask to just see 1 week of training, and also help me help you to decide which training plan is right for you. So again, I will leave a link to my training plans below and also a link to my Facebook community. If you've ever felt like heart rate training doesn't make sense in a hilly area, you're not alone, but now you know what to do. It's all about adjusting that pace, taking a walk break, or even just standing still to let your heart rate come down again. Let me know in the comments, where do you run, flat or hilly, and how do you adjust your training? Don't forget to subscribe if you found this helpful and check out my other video on heart rate training in the heat. I'm sure you'll love it. See you next Friday.